Good morning. It's me again, Dumelo. For the Sisters of the Yam, a co-reading experience with my girl Ngozi, who's just gonna say hi now.
Hi now.
Yeah. So this is the 15th installment of the co-reading experience, and we didn't have to read any of the book last night or yesterday.
Yeah.
Because we're done. We're done. The book is 13 chapters long. And we're done. Finished. We are finished reading it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And so today we're doing a closing, right? Yeah. I just wanna. I think we're all sad. I'm very sad. Yeah, I think we're sad because we're at the end of this. But we're also very, 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 very proud is the word that Ngozi used. Very proud that we did this, right? It's like 15 days of consistency. Considering, all things considered. Yeah, we were able to pull this through. Every day, 11 o'clock, we rocked up. We woke up. We showed up. Some days we didn't want to. Most days it was hard to get out of bed. Some days it was just hard to engage the literature because, woo, yeah, I mean, I keep saying it's work, né? It's work. So every chapter just required that each of us just dig in within ourselves, and sometimes we just didn't want to. There's some of the chapters were just too deep, and some of us just didn't want to deep. Yeah, and yeah, so here we are, and we're just gonna do like a whole closing up of the whole experience, right, Ngozi?
Yeah. I feel like we did an official opening and an official introduction. So it's only right, I think, that we do, like you're saying, just a nice like closing off, like reflections, impressions, any kind of like transformations or changes or triggers, because I know there was some of those. I love how you refer to it as work because yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
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 It yeah, it was work in a lot of instances, with specific chapters. There was definitely an element of, wow, do I have to carry on reading this, and then do I have to talk about it tomorrow, or do I have to talk about it later? um, but also there was a lot of comfort in knowing that yes, tomorrow we are going to read through and work through and talk about it. And as much as you're doing the work by yourself, you're not alone.
You're
So
not
that was
alone.
really so
Yes.
dope.
I love that. Yeah, and I was thinking about this earlier as well. That it's been so nice. One of the nice things about the experience is that it's been so cool to just go through this, with a community, right? To just like come in and be like, guys, this is what is happening. And then just listening to each other, go through our points and stuff. The work was not done alone. And I think one of the things that also saddens me is that now that we are like moving away from the communal, reading the book together, we are now going to have to do the work by ourselves, right? On our own. And I think that's where it's gonna get a bit hard. That's where it's gonna just, yeah. Because it's not gonna be like facade work anymore. It's not gonna be, on the outside. It's just, which is what we spoke
Yes.
about. Did we speak about it yesterday? I think we spoke about it yesterday or the day before. The loneliness of the actual work, right? It's stuff that we have to do on our own. Yeah.
And I love how you said now it's going to be, it could possibly be a little bit more difficult because, like you're saying, there's like on the one hand, engaging with the literature and reading and writing and talking is one thing, and then actually living the lessons that we've learned and living our recovery is a thing, is something completely different. And I know that, like, some of the habits, like sort of like the emotional habits, and emotional also like addictions that I've had, and ways in which I've kind of interacted and engaged with the world and with other people and myself. It's like, this is what we were like shedding light on for the past couple of weeks. This is what we've been looking at, examining. Some places are kind of hardened from being like used over and over again. Some places were tender because there's still some pain there. So it's really like exciting though, like, because it's a whole new life, a whole new world.
A whole new world.
It's my jam.
I just want to bring Tudu in. Tudu, hi. Mwah, mwah.
Hi, Miss Tudu.
Yeah. I'm sure she's relieved today. She can say hi, ladies, without Lolo coming in and saying, I'm a guy.
I'm a dude. Discrimination.
Yeah. So how I wanted to do this, right? But I want to start with a note. First, right? It's from this chapter. She writes, the purpose of this writing was to add to that growing body of literature that hopes to enable us to value ourselves rightly, fully. In spiritual solidarity, Black women have the potential to be a community of faith that acts collectively to transform our world. So I wanted to start off with that because, we started at the beginning with why we're reading this and possibly and why Belle wrote this book, and and I think this is like a nice sum up, just her saying that she's just adding work, right? She's adding a piece of work to the library, that exists, where women can just go and pick out and it, pick up stuff that helps them work on themselves so that they can be better for themselves and for the larger community. So yeah. And I want to just bring in a note, right? And throughout this book, I was just a bit embarrassed about this because, so I have a lover, right? That we used to always joke about women getting together and the stuff that brings women together. So I'm so embarrassed to talk about this. So what we used to do is like we used to say, we used to. So there's like a particular example. There's like one friend of ours, right? And she's a friend with like another person that we both know, and then we'd be like, did you see them? They were together. We saw them, like they were like taking photos together and stuff like that. And then we'd always like just go over what brings them together because they have like a common ex, right? And then we'd always be like, they're being brought together by their pain, right? And it used to be like a joke, right? So I'm reading through this book and I'm just like, why are you this person, Dumelo? Right? And I think the worst thing is that I was joking about it with like a guy. Joking about the safe spaces that women find. Gozi's laughing at me. Joking about the safe spaces, the community that women build for themselves and the common experiences that brings them together, right? Because throughout this book, we talk. The whole book is about black womanhood and self-recovery, right? And the community, be you yourself being the community, and the community being there for you, and right, building those spaces. And I mean, bruh, it's not even that long ago where we were making these jokes. So
Girl, I know all about joking about tampon circles, okay?
yeah.
So I'm not even laughing at you, I'm laughing with you because I know all about also being that girl who's like, women's circles,
Ah.
um, but I mean, I also will say that I've been interested in like alternative spirituality and stuff. And the idea of like women coming together and maybe like dancing naked under the moonlight has always been something that's really been it's like, ooh, I'd love to do that one day. But also like realizing and understanding that in order for us, I think, to be able to celebrate fully together, it's also like it's also obvious that there will be moments when we are united in our pain or the things that have been hurtful for us, or difficult or challenging. And solidarity in that is actually fine. Like, it's actually okay to be in a tampon circle. Like, it's fine.
I didn't know that's what they were called, by the way, tampon circles. So now I know. Now I know. Yeah. So this is what it is. So now I'm in a tampon circle, and it feels good. It feels good. To be here. But yeah. Okay. Cool. So getting into the book again. Getting back into the book, right? That we've just closed. So the book had 13 chapters, and I'm just gonna just bring up the title of each chapter and then just speak a bit. Maybe we should just do each chapter and then highlight lowlights. What do you think?
I think that's fine.
Yeah,
that makes perfect sense. Yes.
Right. So the first chapter was Seeking After Truth, and that was we were talking about how important it is to just be truthful, first to ourselves and to everybody else around us. Be truthful about our situations. And I mean, a lot of this was in order to heal or to move into spaces of healing, we need to, I'm gonna sneeze, okay, we need to accept that there is some form of brokenness somewhere within us. So any takeaways, Ngozi?
Maybe cool thing is, I think I experienced the coolest thing was to be able to be honest and open, and just first of all, because that was the kind of basis of our being able to create the safe space, which is really dope. And then one of the things I think that I felt a bit apprehensive about maybe was like attached to the same thing. It's almost like the highlight was the low light at the same time. Is that, okay, now we're creating this safe space and it's open. Now you have to be open and vulnerable and yourself and tell the truth. And that can sometimes be a bit tender, like it's a bit of a tender place. Yeah. But it was cool because then it was like, you know what? The universe is safe. Life is safe. Life is supportive of you. The universe loves you. You are loved. Like, it was nice. That was nice about the chapter, but scary about the chapter at the same time.
I agree. I think I had to ask myself, because I know when I start talking and I just so there were moments where I had to ask myself a lot throughout the book, like what is okay to share and what is not, right? Because I mean, we are aware that this is like Facebook, like the whole world can see it, and stuff like that. But then it was also like a lot of sifting through what I want to keep, right? Because I always say that there are experiences that have silenced me, right? Like really, really silenced me. And I mean, those things that you're not able to talk about, right? I and I've always felt like, the less you keep on your heart, then the better you're able to deal with things. So I mean, I think this was also a coming out for me. It was also like me just opening my mouth, because I do feel like I've been silenced a lot. I was having a conversation recently with one of my friends, and she was saying, you used to like write these great pieces, right, on Facebook, and they'd be so honest, and they'd be, and literally I used to live on Facebook, and I used to, and I haven't been doing that. And I'd go back to like those memories, and I'd be like, oh, I used to write such nice things, guys. This is. But yeah, so yeah, but I haven't been able to do it in the last couple of years. I just want to bring in Dudu's comment, right? And it's nice to also see everybody that's coming in. So Dudu says, wow, spelled ladies wrong. I didn't even notice that you spelled ladies wrong, Dudu. Yes. Now we do the work alone. I will miss this community interaction daily. I hope we can maintain it. Or if this is all it was meant to serve and be, so be it. Putting it out there. Universe. Universe. Forever impacted by this, though. This experience is another affirmation for me on the power, the value, and the magic of women energy joining for the purpose of healing. We are connected, I believe. Right? We are connected. Yeah, I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I don't think this is the end. So, yeah. Yeah, so that was the first chapter. I think there's another comment. Okay, no. So that was the first chapter, and then the second chapter was growing. It was tongues of fire, right? Learning critical affirmation, and this is where we started just realizing, this is where I realized that I'm generally so hard on myself, right? I'm a big critic, self-critic. And realizing that being so critical on yourself also disallows you to just do things. I mean, we spoke a lot about criticizing our children, being criticized as children, all of those things. And I think the highlight for me was just that we need to just be kinder to ourselves. Just be kind, guys. Just be kind to ourselves, and in being kind to ourselves and being, compassionate, with ourselves, then we would be able to just be better people for other people, and I think this is where that whole people that are usually mean and just nasty to you are just usually just going through the most themselves. So we need to just be understanding.
Yeah. I enjoyed this chapter as well because I think, I don't know if it's a natural thing, but I feel like there's a part of it that's quite natural. I'm quite like a natural critic of things. I'm a critiquer of things, whether it is books or art or films or socio-political situations. Like I tend to critique, like it's a thing that I do, but also learning how that voice was kind of how it came about, like you were saying, from maybe our relationship with our parents, which then turned into our inner voices, and how those inner voices are like so loud and so unnecessarily critical. Like, just be gentle with yourself. Like, gentle, easy does it. Mm-hmm. Like, if you were a little child, how would you be that mean to you? Like,
Yeah.
And like, probably not. Like, yeah. So that was a nice, like a really cool thing that I feel like I took away or experienced from reading that and going through that.
Okay. And then we went into the third chapter, which was work that makes life sweet. And I think this was like should I say an aha chapter for me. Yeah, because I mean, throughout this chapter, I was realizing how much, uh, like my spirit is like just yearning, um, to do, work that I've been talking about and I've been thinking about and I've been planning for like a very long time. And um, yeah, work that makes life sweet, work that is
Yeah.
enjoyable, work that is good. And a highlight for me in this chapter was, how important it is for women to speak about, you know, the the work that they enjoy, the work that they are doing, and so that they set an example for other women, who want to go into, you know, said that type of job, that type of work. Um, yeah, I think that was like the best thing for me. That getting those examples, right? Being able to refer to somebody that has done good work, and because yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that chapter as well because it's like it's been during this time that I've gone back to painting again, and kind of writing for myself. So that was really, really amazing. And I think this chapter really supported that part of my creative life, which I really enjoyed and appreciated. And I think the highlight for me as well, which was super dope, was um, just kind of the role that like pleasure and taking pleasure in your work and doing things that you actually enjoy, like, and doing that. Like, how about you do work that you actually like, Gazi? Like, let's try that, doing something that will actually, um, like, doing work that will actually, like, fulfill you and bring you joy, and allow you to live and create in the fullness of your life. Like, just enjoy life, like YOLO, but in a like pleasurable, carving time and space for that which you enjoy kind of way. And I see that Dudu just came back. Hi, Dudu. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yeah, the internet, guys, is doing the things, right? It's doing the things. I mean, we've had instances where, I think more than twice, where internet just cut our sessions short.
Yeah.
But yeah, we understand. But it's always good to have you. It's always good to have you come back as well. So then we went into the fourth chapter, knowing peace, an end to stress. Whew. Yeah. Yeah, this one was like, I think this is where it started getting heavy for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because then we had to like just come in, just recognize the stresses in our lives. And then we were talking about how to deal with them, right? Especially especially with what we're dealing with now. I mean, a lot of us have been. There's something that's walking on my. Yeah, I have been like under a lot of pressure. Yeah, and yeah. Let me just go through my notes. Gozi?
That's okay. Yeah, because as you started talking about this chapter as well, I read through the notes that I'd made.
Yeah.
And I feel like the notes that I've made as I was reading the chapter and engaging with it from my brain is a different way from how I experienced it emotionally.
Yeah.
Because this was also quite an intense chapter for me too. The notes that I made here was like, okay, stress-related illnesses, endometriosis, cancer, high blood pressure, da-da-da. I'm like, okay, so the stresses are kind of making us sick. So just I think the process of identifying the things that caused me stress, not just now in this time, but in general, and then also kind of learning how to kind of be at peace with them and letting them go. Because I freak out as well at certain things, like, the unknown, for example, change, for example, not having every single thing kind of planned to a T. That kind of stresses me out sometimes. I think also being a single mom, I need a schedule. Like, a schedule gives me structure, gives the kids structure. It's something that I can hold on to.
Yes.
But like in a time when none of that kind of can apply really, and also in life where you cannot plan your life to like the 30 seconds, coming to terms with and being at peace with the unknown, and just like not being stressed about that stuff.
Yeah.
That was a thing I think that I took away from that.
Yeah. I made a note here about not being addicted to being tough. And I remember when we were talking about this, we were on some, we are not rocks.
Yeah. I remember that.
We were just like, yeah, guys, we're not rocks. So we can't just, because that causes a lot of stress. I know it causes a lot of stress in a lot of women's lives, where we are just like, we need to keep it together. We need to keep it together, and we need to, and I mean, really, I mean, all of that stuff, all of that weight weighs you down, right? And we also spoke about the stuff that we do to relieve stress in the chapter. We talked about the shopping, the impulsive shopping, and the I don't want to go into the next chapter, but we also spoke about the stuff that we use to relieve stress, right? Which then lead to our addiction, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then we went into the next chapter, which was all about addiction.
Yes.
Growing away from addiction, right? Chapter 5. And this was like the highlight of this book for me. Because I mean, I've read this book before, so I felt like I had done some of the work at some point in my life, right, in the last 2-3 years since I read the book. But this chapter, growing away from addiction, and this chapter was so important for me because I had to, while I was reading the chapter, while I was thinking about the text, I realized that we can be addicted to stuff that's not tangible, right? Like stuff that you can't touch. So it made me think about, because I'm not a drinker, smoker, I don't do all of those things. But then I had to think about, what are you addicted to, right? What am I addicted to? And then I realized that actually, I'm more addicted, I have been addicted to like relationships, or being in relationships, and and it would manifest in the need to like live with people, and and then I had to like work backwards and realize why I was like, why I felt that way and why I was addicted to those situations, and then link it to like a fear that I had and things like that. And I'm actually shaking when I'm saying this, but so that was deep work for me. Chapter 5 was like deep chapter. It was a deep chapter for me. Dudu also says the addiction chapter resonated with me very much.
I like how you spoke about the intangible things that we are addicted to. Because you're absolutely right. Like, there's certain even like self-defeating thought patterns that like you kind of, they're your default setting, and you just kind of keep going back to them, keep replaying them, and they're not necessarily the healthiest way for us to exist in the world. I mean, I know certainly for myself, some of that, and I think we did kind of speak a bit about also kind of enforcing like healthy healthy boundaries and being able to say when we're struggling with something, or struggling with a situation, so that it doesn't get to the point where, we're now abusing, whether it's, drugs or ourselves in a particular way. And drugs, I mean also like alcohol, cigarettes, because, I have been a big drinker and a big smoker of tobacco. So, and this time, and it's interesting that this book, I'm reading it now because we don't have access to those things. So it's an interesting thing that also, like, once those substances were taken away, then there's also like another layer of like self-reflection and kind of looking back at, again, those like mental and like psychological like blocks and addictions that I've had and carried for so long, which is kind of dope, but also hectic.
It's hectic as well. I think another thing for all of us, for most of us, right? And we spoke about it in the context of power, like power in relationships, and but was like being addicted to control, right? And I mean, right now we are in a situation where nobody can control anything, right? You can barely control your children, right? Because we're all going through like the most. But yeah, so that whole being addicted to like being in control of things in your life. And then the next chapter was chapter 6, Dreaming Ourselves Dark and Deep, Black Beauty. Ooh,
Yeah.
yes. I just want to make a note here that there have been like days where I just want to show up, like without even having showered, because I'm just like, this is how I feel. Like this is how I feel, guys. Like I don't want to do my hair. I don't want to do anything. I feel this way, so I want to just appear this way. And so yeah, this chapter was good for me because in one of the earlier chapters we had talked about we had brought up beauty, and I had said that I just have such a problem with people referring to me as beautiful, and then Gozi gave me a different perspective on the issue, and then and I was very nervous because I was the one that was supposed to do this the video on this chapter, but then it turned out really, really well. And I just want to also make another note and say that welcome back, girl. Gozi had,
Sorry, what happened?
it's fine. But now your sound is a bit low. Just say something. Okay, I can hear you
Is
now.
it better now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was just saying, I was talking about my experience of the beauty chapter, and then also how, also confronting the stuff that we don't usually want to deal with. With me doing, like, facilitating the beauty chapter when I actually didn't want to do it, because I have issues with beauty, was actually like coming out for me. It was nice. It was really nice. And I think the takeaway for me was just like the taking care of ourselves, right? Just take time, just take care of yourself, feel good.
I enjoyed this as well because, like, I love that stuff. I love beauty. Like, I'm obsessed. I think we had like a moment where I was obsessing over natural hair because I'm obsessed with Black women and the, like, I don't know. I really enjoyed this chapter, and it gave me I think it gave me an opportunity to also just remember, like, how beautiful we all are, like all our shapes and shades and sizes and ability. Like, it's all just like a freaking rainbow of beautiful brown. Like I really just enjoyed this chapter very much because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course there were issues. There were issues that came up. I mean, I know my own insecurities about my skin, about my teeth, about, like my hair and my weight and da-da-da, like all of that came up as well.
Yeah.
And just learning to undergo the process of just accepting that, just accept and love
everything, right? Accept everything, love everything.
Yeah,
we were talking about the smiley tummies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is actually like a chapter that we always we all wanted to be here for. I don't know if she's gone offline again because she's like a beauty person, right? She does the beauty thing. And Duruma, you must just share like a link to your stuff there, right, on this video, because so that we can but also a big thing that came out of this chapter was the whole notion of communities of resistance, right? Living in communities of resistance, where we are able to come back from everything that is like hard and harsh and the racism, the sexism, the all of that, and then just come back and just be embraced in this community of people that understand what you're going through. And then chapter 7 was facing and feeling loss.
Yeah. Ew.
Yeah. So, I probably have like 5 pages of notes.
For me. This was a difficult one for me as well, because it wasn't just about death necessarily, like the physical loss of a loved one, but it was also about like grief and grieving maybe situations or relationships or ideas or even just kind of parts of ourselves that we're not maybe connected to anymore. And it was kind of a personal moment just because of obviously like what's been going on in my career for the most part. So it was at the same time, it was chilled because I feel like I'd maybe undergone the process of grieving for that anyway. But at the same time, it was another reminder that like, look, nothing is permanent. And it's okay to take time to like lick your wounds and go back into yourself and gather your strength again before you come back out into the world. So it was quite a beautiful affirmation of that as well, and that it's okay.
I have like, this is like the chapter where I made the most notes. I have like 7 pages of notes on this chapter. But I mean, I think the one thing about this chapter was somewhere where Belle writes, a body that learns to die well learns to live well. And that was like on the importance of just learning to let go and learning to just heal from the process of letting go. I mean, it starts with Belle going into how death used to be such a sacred thing in Black communities, and it was a time where you just learn to accept that nothing lasts forever. People will die, but you do it well, right? So you go in, you do the crying, you do the mourning, you do the and then you celebrate, right?
And you honor those as well who've gone before, and you honor that process. And I know I spoke a bit, I don't know whether it was kind of on camera or whether it was a conversation we had afterwards. We spoke a bit about the kind of rituals around death that we have now. And I know I was very much like, it's kind of hectic and heavy for the family members, to be constantly like with people all the time. But I was speaking with someone just this morning as well who mentioned like when their dad passed away, they were like really comforted by the people who came to help. So that was a really interesting like thing for me as well, because it allowed me to also like change my mind, which was kind of good, which was kind of like cool about this chapter, and loss being like a communal thing as well as like a personal thing.
Yeah. Yeah, just on the on that loss being a communal thing, right? So I don't know, yeah, I think we also had this like offline conversation afterwards on this, but I was also, I mean, recently with the deaths in my family, I keep saying to my family, you know, you guys need to stop spending all this money on like the week-long funerals. You know, if I die, my family's so sick of hearing this. I keep saying, when I die, you guys need to just tomorrow go and bury me.
Chop chop.
Yeah, tomorrow. And don't even get a casket, get a what. Just take the money in my bank account and go and cremate me tomorrow, right?
Thank you.
And then everybody else can come to the house. They can do it the whole week. They can do it the whole month. We can have like the tea and the what. But let it not put a hole in like my kids' pocket, right? And I still that still stands for me. But I think this chapter made me realize the importance of the community that comes together, because I remember when I had this conversation with my grandmother, she was just like, you don't understand, because I was like, why are you waiting? Because with my dad we waited 2 weeks, right, to bury him, and they were like, we're waiting for family from kai we're waiting, and I'm like, why are you waiting for family from kai? They can come after, you know. And then, so my grandmother was just, she never understands. She's just like, because, I mean, you also know, like, with grandmothers, they're the ones sitting on the mattress with the other grandmothers, you know, the many grandmothers. We had a funeral a couple of weeks ago, and she was, like, there on the mattress with the other grandmothers. And, you know, it's such a familiar sight, because it's, like, the third time I see her on the mattress with the other grandmothers now. And I think, for them, it's comforting, right? But, financial implications. Yeah.
Hey, we're hectic,
guys. We're hectic. And then chapter 8 was moved by passion, arrows, and responsibility. So I literally have like one note on this chapter. I don't know why. Or do I? I think I do. I think I have like one note on this chapter. Oh, no. No, I have like 4 pages. Okay, cool. I have stuff. Yeah. So what is this chapter on again? Gozi, help me.
Eros.
The erotic.
Pleasure. Like the more overt chapter about like pleasure and taking pleasure and being able to, I think, articulate ourselves, what we like, what we don't like. Urging us to reconsider our relation to our bodies as well as the bodies of other Black women.
Yeah.
That was from the chapter itself.
Yeah. And there was that term, erotic metaphysics, which is based on the assumption that we become more fully who we are in the act of loving. We spoke a lot about like embracing love and being love and putting out love in this chapter. It was more about the erotic outside of the romantic, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Which was like I think it was a needed thing, because every time most times when we speak about the erotic, we usually just bring in the romantic relationship, the intimate relationships, right? Yeah, and I think that essay by Audre Lorde was The Power of the Erotic was central to this chapter. We referred to it a lot here. And I think this is was this chapter 8? Was this chapter 8, ne?
This was chapter 8, yeah.
8, yeah. So Dudu says this was her favorite chapter. one of her favorite. This is one of my favorite chapters. Which one was your favorite, Dudu? Like, so she says it's one of her favorite chapters. I also have two favorites, but yeah. Uh, one of her favorite chapters, chapter 8, and then we went on to chapter 9, living to love, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I know you love this chapter.
It flows. It really does kind of flow. It flowed from like eroticism into chapter 9. Interestingly, I didn't even write any notes. I did kind of highlight some places in the text, but I think this was the part where I was just kind of speaking from my heart, because it's just this thing where I don't know. I think from reading this chapter, I remember, I think one of the things being like us encouraging one another to be more loving towards one another. And again, like it's always like, okay, be more loving to one another, be kinder. It's okay to be soft. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to love freely, love openly. To also kind of reimagine communities of love and sort of taking away that kind of hierarchical, I think it was this chapter, right, where it was like taking away the kind of hierarchical, like, okay, daddy loves mommy, mommy loves daddy, then there's the kids, and then the kids, you know, and then so taking away that whole hierarchy of what love and what loving means, and being a lot more sort of open-hearted with the idea of being able to love one another within a community. Again, this word community comes up once again. I liked that, and kind of allowing ourselves to tend to our needs, to tend to our needs, like, you know, as Black women, like we also need love, because we give love all the time, we nurture all the time, but also it's like, when do we receive that love, you know? When do we receive the like loving admonition, if we're going to receive that? And then there was, it's just, and then I think we went in on our relationship with our moms.
Yes, we were, there was a chapter where we were like, swimming.
I think this was the one where we were like, you know, where we were like, I wish mom could have responded in a more loving way, rather than being so harsh. And then it also kind of gave us pause as mothers to also be like, in which ways can we be more loving towards our children? As well.
It's also a chapter where the term home psychosis came back, because we had read it in an earlier chapter, which is like that the type of healing where you just sit at home and the people in the space, in the safe space, just speak to you and try to help you figure out what is wrong, right? But it's like a home loving. It's like all the love. We spoke about that whole, the cooking and, all the nice stuff. When you remember, I remember when I used to live in Res, and it was, I'd go home. I'd be like, I miss my mom's cooking. I'm going home. Guys, that type of thing. So the nice things about being home and just using those to create a healing space at home. We also spoke about touch, the importance of just feeling each other, right? Just being able to just, those hugs, those cuddles, those just, touching each other, right? And those feeling so warm. I mean, I love the concept of like a forehead kiss. Love it. And I have a cousin that always, he does not fail, giving me, and I'm short and he's tall, so he would like lean in and he would like give me a forehead kiss, and it's just so warm. It's like it flows from here. It's just like warmth, right? It's like when a tall person gives you like a nice hug where they lift you up, and you're like, oh, Right? So I love those.
Yeah.
love those. Yeah, and then we moved on to chapter 10, which was Sweet Communion. And this was all about community, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I remember the one thing about this chapter was the question, can I be that community, right? Can I be community for other people? And we spoke here about the fact that you can't be community for everybody. Yeah, that community is usually a safe space, an intimate space. So you, not for everybody, but also that doesn't stop us from just being open to bringing people into our spaces. Yeah.
Yes, this is yeah, I mean I enjoyed this as well, just like the opening up. I know we didn't necessarily talk about it a lot on the day that we spoke in this chapter, but there's a part where like kind of queerness comes in and homophobia comes in, and like just different ways in which we kind of exclude one another from these communities of care. And yeah, like it was just nice to read a chapter that kind of opened up and then spoke again about these communities of resistance, right? That phrase you love so much, that I've also come to love from reading this book. Like that it's yeah, man, just creating safe spaces, places where people feel safe, where people feel at home, where people feel like they can become their best selves, like, yeah, and thrive.
Thrive.
Communities where people can thrive.
Yes. Also, so I want to just bring Turu in. She says, I need touch. Social distancing sucks.
It really does.
Does suck, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So another thing about these communities of resistance is that that we spoke about is that we need to also be, be able to call each other out, or call others, or call each other out, right, on our problematics.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a comment here from Obey CP, and I'm just like, nigga, please.
From who?
I don't know who it is.
Oh, Obey CP.
Yeah.
Oh, it says show your body.
Exactly.
He thinks you're a cam girl.
I'm just
wrong
like,
channel, bro.
Wrong channel, right? Wrong channel. So things like this, right? And I know we spoke briefly about like the problematics of social media when it comes to things like this, and how things like inboxes and DMs can also be like triggers where just people feel like they can just slide in there and just like be problematic. I know there's a time in my life where I used to screenshot inboxes where people were just being people were just being problematic. I'd just screenshot them and then I'd post them. And
I can't remember that. A couple of years ago.
Yeah, a couple of years ago. And and a lot of men were just like, oh, what happened to, like, why are you being this person? I was just like, they should just stop being in my inbox, right? Please stop. I mean, really. And then we went on to chapter 11, forgiveness. It was like, it's titled The Joy of Reconciliation. Yes.
So I think this is the one where we got cut short by like the limitations of technology, which was really kind of a bit sucky. But it was also kind of cool because I cried. Like, it was off camera, but I cried. I cried after reading this chapter because I realized that it's like super easy to say that you forgive someone. Like, it's easy, like, oh, you forgive someone, but to extend that forgiveness, like for me to extend that forgiveness to myself was quite, like, it was something that I didn't realize would be so sensitive and such a sensitive and sore point. sore point, but like a sensitive point. Let me say that. Um, yeah, and I really enjoyed I really enjoyed the chapter as well. And I'm seeing from my notes here where Belle kind of makes a distinction between demanding accountability and then apportioning blame. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like a thin line, but but there's a way in which we can interact and engage with the places where we're hurt, in ways that we can extend ourselves and accept apologies and even accepting forgiveness, because I know at some point we spoke about how difficult it can be to actually accept that you have been forgiven for doing something really hectic.
Yes.
So it was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. I know. Takeaway from me from this chapter was the getting forgiveness in the absence of an apology. Yeah, which is always hard, right? Always hard. We cannot just always wait to be, to for somebody to apologize before we can forgive, and sometimes that will not happen. Sometimes we will not get it, and we just need to just forgive, guys. Just need to forgive so that we can keep it moving, so that we can forget. I know we also spoke about also after forgiving, just forgetting, right? Just don't bring back. I know I'm a child that my mother always just used to always bring stuff back, right? Even when you think that you are like, you've forgiven yourself and you're like over it, and you're like, you've built, you've built over that foundation, you're like, okay, right? And then she'll be like, in that year where you did what, you're just like, why do you keep right? Why do you keep reminding me? I'm not that person. Oh yeah, and you did say this, right? You said that you need to also accept that people are not who they were. People are not their mistakes, and they're also we need to learn to accept that they're not who they were when they wronged you, and that they can grow, and then they can be better people, and it's okay, right? It's okay. And then 12 was touching the earth, which was like, so the last two chapters were my favorites. So this is my first favorite. First because they were the lightest chapters.
Yes.
And then secondly because I feel personally that they are the chapters where I am doing well. If we were like to just put it on a scale, I think chapter 12 and 13 are like where I am doing well. So chapter 12 was touching the earth, and we spoke extensively about gardening and the importance of nature and just being out there and reconnecting with the natural elements.
I loved it. Kind of related a little bit to chapter 13, but I think one of the things that I really enjoyed a lot about this chapter was how kind of like remembering how like ancient civilizations and ancient communities used to tie up their entire spiritual systems.
Where did she go? So I think Buzzie's having like problems. This is the second time her phone cuts today. Anyway, I'm just gonna wait for her to come back. Done and cut that call, and I'm just gonna wait for her to call back. So that was chapter 12, and she was talking about the ancient civilizations and how they would tie up their entire livelihoods around the spirits, which was also like a highlight for me. And she mentioned how it's important to how she loves seeing more and more young people go back to their roots, right? Just go back to how things were done finding themselves in like, there she is, finding themselves in like African spirituality. I was trying to finish your sentence. Welcome back.
Sorry about that.
It's fine. Yeah. So you can just finish off what you, if you are still on the same breath.
Yes, shame. Sorry about that. So, just one of the things that I loved about the chapter was how we were thinking about and remembering how like ancient civilizations were kind of very closely linked to the seasons and the elements. So it's like, you know, you'd have like Ra as a sun god, or like your entire Litsema would be like the festival that would be based around community of reaping the corn and sharing that, like, and you know, maybe nomadic cultures that would follow the herds, you know, and so the closeness to nature was directly kind of linked to the well-being and the societies, like of back in the day. I want to say back in the day, but like, yeah, and it was kind of, for me, one of those things that kind of stood out was that because we were so attuned to nature, and because the nature of the earth is that she's constantly changing and going through different seasons, it was a lot easier maybe to deal with things like change, to deal with moments of solitude, moments of togetherness, moments of warmth, moments of cold, plenty and lack. Like it was just all like it flowed. Like it was just all a flowing continuum of just earth, oneness with the earth.
And man, I'm just listening to you. I'm just thinking about I'm thinking about like you know, you brought up during the like different chapters the different gods, and how they'd be connected, you know, how, you know, you were talking the one day about a bee, and the bee could be, you know, being connected to, which god was it? Was it Oshun?
Oshun.
Yes, it was Oshun.
Yes, it was Oshun.
And so I'm just thinking about that, you know, and how, you know, the beginning is always like in the natural. And then obviously, not obvious, but chapter 13 was walking in the spirit. And we agreed that it was like a great chapter to close the book with. And now, you know what, when I'm going through this recap, I'm actually seeing the structure of the book, how everything flowed, you know, from the first chapter, everything just kind of flowed into the next chapter. Yes, and sometimes it didn't even, especially in the earlier chapter, sometimes it just didn't feel that way. But now that I'm recapping, I'm just realizing that actually the whole build up was like, it was a nice flow. The book does have a nice flow, right? So the last chapter was spirituality. And we went into the stuff that we do, and respect was a long discussion point, how it's important to always be respectful. And you know, that's actually, I loved that conversation from yesterday about the respect element and respecting yourself, and how when you respect yourself and your body, you're able to come into like the spiritual realm, and you know, be a child and also be respectful. But also what I wanted to say yesterday but didn't say it is the how then you are also respectful of the people around you. You know, I was thinking about it in terms of like intimate relationships, that when you see yourself as a queen, as a goddess, right, and your body is like a temple, you will not use it in ways that are shameful, right? Where you, after whatever you do, you just feel like, that was like shameful, right? But also in respecting yourself, you kind of like respect the people that are around you, and you respect their bodies as well, right? Because a big thing we know, like a big thing is the disrespect. Like right now is like a disrespect of bodies, right? Yeah, we just kind of like don't respect the bodies around us, whether we are like in family relationships. I was like called out actually, like by also a previous lover, for body shaming. He used to always be like, to me, you're always body shaming me. I mean, and I'd be like joking, right? I'd always be just like, how mukaba? What are you doing with that? You know, type of thing. And I wasn't aware that it was like a thing that was like sitting on his heart, right? And after like we broke up and we were like having one of our joke conversations, he was like, "Whoo, yeah, kikuritse, the body shaming," right? And I was just like, guys, it's a thing. You know, this is a thing. So yeah, like just being careful of things like that. Sometimes, I mean, I honestly just thought it was just like a joke. You know, because I joke about Mam Kaba all the time, right? But I didn't think that was just the thing for him. Yeah. Yeah. So spirituality, guys. Buzzy, come in.
Yeah, no, I love how you say that you joke about your Makaba all the time, because I feel like joking about my wiggly, wobbly, protruding bits is like the only way. It's like one of the ways that I can truly kind of connect with it and be like, it's okay.
It's okay.
And it talks, you know, and it laughs and it jiggles. It's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we never really know how the next person might take our own coping mechanism.
Yes.
And I love how you spoke about the body and being able to respect, because if you respect yourself and if you see your body as a temple, then you're more able to see the body of the next person as a temple. And I know we didn't really talk about it much yesterday, but how you were extending that as well you extended it to kind of include the situation that we find ourselves in, sort of in the popular world today, where there's all kinds of like people encroaching upon one another's consent. Like people aren't consenting to being, first of all, like interacting with each other in a physical space. I mean, even things like being in each other's inboxes and the ways that we are in each other's inboxes. Like it's like it's like we're not being respectful of the next person. And it's not to say that we can't be like freaky or sexual or, you know, free or conservative with ourselves. It's not a judgment or a value judgment of that at all, but it is completely about how one is able to express that with the next person, because the next person might not see or engage with their bodies or want to engage with our bodies in the same way. So it is a very kind of spiritual thing, because once you see the God in the next person, you engage with them differently, man. Yes. You interact differently. And even if you are being like super kind of base or sexual, like, and I don't want to say base and sexual in the same thing as if I'm equating them in the same way, because that's not what I mean at all. But even if you are, you know, being sort of very kind of in your body, you're still able to extend respect and engage in a respectful way, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. I feel
like
I just went.
No, but it makes sense. It makes sense to me. No, it makes sense to me, because and I mean it's taking me back to there's a nude exhibition, right, that I follow. I forgot Balisa's surname now, but there's this photographer, Balisa, right? She's from Mamelodi, that does like a nude photography thing, right, with women. right? And it's called Her Skin Speaks. And I used to be obsessed with it some years back when it started out, because it would just be women naked in like showing off like parts of themselves that were, I mean, we speak about this all the time, that are sensitive, that we're like, just, you know, the stretch marks, you know, the covers,
The
and
rolls, Yana.
you know, and it would just be so beautiful. Like, a lot of the photographs are done in nature, and it would just be so beautiful. And I'd be like, oh man, right? And I follow a page on Facebook. It's called The Body is The Body's Not an Apology. Love that page, right? Because it goes on and on about the importance of just loving, you know, and it's not just about when your body's just has the rolls or it's just big. It's also when your body's like really small. It's just about like just the body, right?
Yeah.
Yes, just the body, just
And
yeah.
I love this. I actually love this because I love how we're talking about the body, even in the context of spirituality. Because I think it's this thing that may have come about with the Judaic religions, or like the religions of the book, where there is a separation between the body and the spirit. And I feel like that's a bit hectic and sad.
It is.
Because
It is.
like we can't we can't separate our body. Like our body is like, it's where our spirit resides. It's from where our spirit resides, in a way. Like there's a clear relationship there. Our body is animated by our spirits, you know, to like, and what we do to our bodies can also have an effect on our spiritual well-being. So there's like a symbiotic relationship there that we possibly don't get the chance to address or engage with enough, because you know, the separation is very like and I'm doing this with my hand.
With your hand,
like,
right? And I'm the only one
separation.
that sees. She's like, the separation is. So I just want to note, right, that we've gone over the time limit by like 12 minutes, but I think we're lax on this because, number one, we don't really want to leave because it's the last video. We don't really want to leave because these conversations have been part of our lives for the last 15 days, and it's just been so awesome. But I am gonna like have to cut it up, like, if we're not done by 1:30, I'm just by like and on our 30 minutes, I'm just gonna have to cut it. But so we're done with the 12 chapters, right? But I wanted to say on that last note that you just made quickly, right? I love how you bring about the fact that like Western religions separate the body and the spirit, because in African spirituality, it's very clear that the body is the holder of the spirit, right? It's like a home for the spirit. It's where the spirit lives. So I needed to just bring that in, just slide it in. And and then so the other question was that I was gonna ask everybody was, are we better for reading this book? Ngozi, do you feel like you're in a better space for reading this book?
So I'm not going to say a lot. I'm just going to say yes. Just yes.
Just yes. I feel the same. I feel like I will not qualify it. You know, these English terms. I will not qualify it, but also yes. I feel like I'm in a better space for reading this book. I think it's important text. And then I wanted to just maybe close off this section before I go to the last part with something from the book. Bell writes, reading inspirational writing is an essential part of self-recovery. We are sustained by one another's testimony when we find ourselves faltering or falling into despair. So I mean, that's what it's been. I mean, the book has been, Belle has like drawn from a lot. Oh, and I wanted to go through the bibliography, but I forgot. But yeah, she's drawn from like a large library of feminist writers, trauma writers, slave narratives, which is always important for Black people because understanding how things like being stolen and being subjugated, affect your current livelihood are important. Is always important in healing those things, those scars, right? Some of which are still very open, and reeling. Yeah, and I think that's just for me on the book. That's it. By the way, I'm not a self-help book person, right? A lot of people will like. I know a lot of people like self-help books, and I don't know why. Because a lot of the requests that I get for book recommendations are always like self-help or business books, which I just kind of like. I'm always like, I'm not a self-help book person, but I know that this is a book that I definitely will recommend to other people, not just women.
Yeah, no, just other people in general, which was really dope that Lolo joined us occasionally because he also kind of he joined even though he didn't engage a lot. It was really dope that he was there for a couple of sessions to engage because I feel like the content is like it's universal. It's not just, and Belle herself also writes about Black men, and she brings Black men into the mix, and she brings like there's also like the element of like non-binary issues and like queer people, homosexuality also makes it's just like holistic health, holistic healthfulness, internal healthfulness.
Yeah, pretty dope. I like that last part because I read a status yesterday from one of my friends, and she was saying, and she was like literally, I could literally feel her clapping to every word in that status, right? Because she was just like, parents need to teach their boys about rape, right? And I mean, it's the same thing here where we need to just these circles, and I know. So before I finish my sentence, I know because we were talking I said this in a private conversation where I was saying, the most problematic guys are the ones that are like, I am feminist, and then they are just gonna go and do just the opposite, right, of what is feminist. And I was saying that there was a guy that I used to see that would wear this shirt that said feminist on the back, and he was just problematic. Anyway, so it's important that even guys get to understand where we're coming from, so getting males to also read this stuff is important.
No, definitely. And it's nice because then it becomes a bridge as well, because a couple of years ago I used to be obsessed when I worked at Exclusive Books for a few years. Many years ago, I used to be obsessed for a while with self-help literature, which is where I ended up reading books like Women Who Love Too Much, that Belle references in the book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. There were a number of books that I did read, and I think I may have to leave this room because please forgive me, guys, while I do a little shuffle.
It's a good thing you're not on video.
Yeah. But yeah, it was really it was a really refreshing book as well, because I think even with all the self-help books that I read, none of them were to do specifically with the experiences of women of color, which I really appreciated about this book, that it was very specific to even though it's African American women and African American kind of issues, there were certain places where I felt an affinity. So I enjoyed that very much about this book.
Yes. Also how she drew from African American literature, right? The majority of the stuff that she drew from was like written by people of color. Um, yeah, and then so the last part would of the session is where to from now, where to from here. So I know Ngozi has like a very very exciting yeah announcement. Should I say announcement? Yes, Ngozi, please do the things.
So, what we would like very
Ah, no, where are you? Move again, move again. We can't hear you. Me, I can't hear you. You're breaking.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, should I say both of them?
Both.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I can hear you. But, like, your video is very blurry.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh dear.
I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Sorry about that.
Yes, it's okay.
So I was just gonna say, I was asking, like, should I say both of the things? Because I know, like, one of the things that we would very much like to do is continue with our co-reading experiences.
Yes.
Which we will definitely do, and I guess announce on the page going forward. It probably won't take exactly the form that it will take, that it has taken this first time around, but it'll definitely have a lot of kind of the similar or the same elements, and we'll get to that, I guess, when it's time and when we figured the next book to read. And then the other thing that we're super excited about is, so a number of people who've been tuning in at the various points in time have talked about how they'd like to write about this experience.
Yes.
And what we thought would be really cool is if we collated all of these writings into just like a young PDF publication that we can share amongst ourselves and with other women and other people who might care to read it. So we're going to put a call out, I think, on a Red Black Girl blog sometime this week.
She's coughing because we wanted to do it today, right? But we also still like, no, it's lockdown, guys, and let's just not pressurize ourselves, right?
No, and that's the thing. We don't want it to be like the way that we've gone about this co-reading experience has been so little pressure. The only pressure, the only rule that we set for ourselves was that we should show up.
Yes.
And that's the only thing that we really kind of did, was just show up, and whatever form it took I think it was beautiful, the form that it took.
Yes.
So even with this that we'd like to put together, this publication that we'd like to put together, I'm calling it a publication, but it's really kind of like a collection of like reflections. I think Dudu spoke about when we chatted a bit about it, she called it like an anthology of reflections, and I think that's such a beautiful thing to call it, because it's literally just like, whether it's a poem or a journal entry or an entire essay or a drawing or a photo, like whatever, if you'd like to share it, like please do.
Yeah.
And then we can all share it.
Yeah, and we can always and I, what I love that, with that piece of, because it's pieces of memory, right, and pieces of thinking that other people can refer to it after we've done this. So like, I mean, we've done this and we're closing, but other people can just come back to it months after we've done this and years after we've done this, and just be like, oh, those women were like getting together when it was so tough, and they were doing the work, right? They were starting on the work. And so exciting. I'm just like, because I've been talking about, not writing. So now this kind of like puts me against the wall, because I need to just write. So
We're waiting very patiently for your writing, madam. Very patiently, no pressure, but yeah, it's time. It's time.
Yes. So yeah. We almost out of time. Well, we have been out of time for like 24 minutes, but so we're just gonna cut it here. Thank you so much. I cannot express the is it amount of gratitude. I can't express how thankful I am. My kids are calling me. So I can't express how thankful I am. First to you, Ngozi. Thank you so much for coming to the table when it was laid out, right? Even when we didn't have enough to eat or have anything to eat. There were days where I felt like that the table is just empty. But thank you for always just coming to the table and just sitting with me and sitting with us, with all of us, right?
Yes. Thank
Can you
ladies,
hear my
so
kids?
much.
They're just like,
I can hear them. Yeah.
because they know I should be done by now, so they're just like, no, it's our time now. Thank you to you, and thank you for everybody that's tuned in. Everyone, I don't want to call people by names, but everyone, but most especially to the regulars, Dudu, Bra, like, Bra, yeah. Thank you for just always coming through, always sharing, always being in the space. Thank you to Lolo as well. And it's Ngozi said this before, but it's been important to have a male voice, even if you were just listening. So thank you. Just thank you. I think that's it for me. Gratitude. I'm very thankful for this experience. It's really kept me sane. Ngozi.
Yeah, I just mine would just be to mirror and amplify your sentiments of gratitude. Just thank you for the space and the time, and the consistency and being an anchor, because this thing was such an anchor in my day. And also that, like, I feel really grateful that, again, like, I didn't have to read it alone. Like, I didn't have to be alone.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful for the community and everyone who participated and shared and tuned in and logged on and has been going through this journey as well. Just like all the love and the gratitude.
Yeah, and I know there's people that are like reading the book and then coming back to the videos. Thank you as well. Feedback is always important. So I'm extremely excited about the two things, right? The publication and the continuation of this. And I know one of the things we spoke about was to just continue this and go into this type of literature, literature that is good for us women, sisters of the yam, right? But we'll see. We're still talking about it. No pressure. But we do want to just do more of these, and bring in other voices and everything. Ngozi, unless there's anything else you want to say?
No. That's all. It. Just thank you, and looking forward to the next stage.
Yes. And that's from me, Tumelo, and Ngozi in Gaborone. Thank you guys, and goodbye.